I think it's easier to run a business at £5 million than it is at £500,000. I think the difficult part is getting there. It's figuring out the transition. So in this session, we're going to go through 5 different examples. 2 of businesses I've advised, 2 businesses that I've advised, 2 that I've owned outright, and 1 that I was in between. I was an advisor and then I became a shareholder in that business. And they're in different industries and they're using different strategies. However, I want you to keep asking yourself these 2 questions repeatedly. Where's the hidden asset? What's the hidden asset? And where's the leverage? Where's the leverage point? What's the hidden asset in this business? Because you can hear from businesses that were not performing and suddenly perform much better. And I'm going to tell each of these as a story, and whilst I'll point it out at the end, equally I want you to think out what's the asset here? What's the hidden asset which will allow this company to perform much better? And then where's the leverage point?
What was the first point you made? Something about 5 million?
It's easier to run a company at 5 million than it is at £500,000 in revenue. And the reason why, I'm not saying that everybody that's done both would agree with me, but that's my experience. And the reason why is, typically, if you transition to get up to 5 million in revenue, you've created the infrastructure. You've got more capital at your disposal, you've got more people at your disposal, you hopefully, in my case it wasn't an instant overnight meteoric rise to fame, you've built up the infrastructure which makes the business more stable and more robust. But the difficult bit is the transition. How do you get the infrastructure when you don't have the resources? Right? Especially when the infrastructure in a lot of cases is made up of people, which costs money. So that's what we're going to address. Think about it this way. If you had a business, and I'll keep the maths very simple just to illustrate the point. If you've got a business that's got 500,000 top line revenue, okay? And let's say on that 500,000 you're making 100,000 in profit. Obviously the margins vary radically by industry, okay? But let's say that's where you're at today. And you're wanting to grow. And let's say your endpoint, or your endpoint for your vision as you see it now, is being at 5 million, and you figure on 5 million you're going to have 1 million of EBIT, profit before tax. Okay, let's just say that's your endpoint. And at that point you might be choosing to exit, or you might be choosing to say, no, I've now got the MD, I've got the management in place, I can remove myself entirely from the business, and there'll be some examples of that in the case studies that I'm about to give you. Here's why coming to trainings like this is, to my mind, beyond paramount. It's critical. Because what do most business owners do? Most business owners try and grow, and what happens? Either nothing, very little, or in a lot of cases, what happens when businesses try to grow? They go bust. More businesses go broke trying to grow than just trying to maintain the status quo. Right? It's not exactly a positive spin, Tom, in a business growth seminar, but I think you need to be aware of the downside risks. But equally, if, let's say, this was going to take you 5 years to go from 500,000 to 5 million, let's say you're one of the lucky few that was capable and able to do that over 5 years. But let's say you make a variety of false starts. So in an earlier session before lunch, Rob mentioned he built up a little bit of cash, tried to expand, put on extra vans, and lost it. But then he came back later, having made some changes, and made it work, and then was able to add a 4th, 5th, 6th van. Okay? But let's just replace vans for years in business. If you lose a year, okay, on this model, so let's say that the businesses went in straight lines, revenue and profit over 5 years, went in straight lines. If you screw up in year 1, how much, and you lose all the profit, right? And profit and cash aren't the same thing, but let's pretend it is for a second. So in Rob's case, he lost that £30,000. How much did it cost Rob to make that mistake under the assumption it's setting back a year? How much money did he lose?
30 grand plus a year's worth of trade.
So he lost 30 grand, yes, plus a year's worth of trading, but what did that year's loss trading? Year's loss of trading cost him? I'm going to tell you right now, it didn't cost him, metaphorically here, the 100,000, it cost him the million. Because if you start trading a year later, he still has to do year one again next year. Yeah. Right? It builds upon itself. So he failed to get the third van going. He eventually figured that out, but time has passed. He still had to get the third van. He didn't get to jump straight to 4 vans. So therefore, it cost you the last year's revenue before you exit. Which, if you're exiting, but now your profit's only 750,000, all right, you've lost a million EBIT because you've missed that last year's trading, but then your exit valuation is going to be based on the profit of 750, not on the profit of a million. So it's going to cost you a multiple of the 250. So it probably costs you another million, let's say, if you're on a 4 times multiple. So I think there is it's paramount not to reinvent the wheel. The advantage of learning from other business owners, Alfred, is it gives you quicker speed to solution. It allows you not to make the mistakes. Warren Buffett, 101, the guy that's been amongst the richest people on the planet for the last 30 years, I think there's a lot to learn from him. And he says when it comes to investing, and he describes the stock market as you're just investing in businesses. Okay, you're buying a slice of a business when you buy shares. He goes, when it comes to investing, there are only 2 rules. Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, refer to rule number 1. And the point is, if you're a smart, switched-on business owner, you're going to come up with some great ideas that will work, that will allow your business to progress. Okay? The fact you're in this room means that you've got some of those. The problem is, we also come up with some bad ideas, which end up costing us a lot of money. And then the compound effect means it doesn't cost us the 100 grand, it costs us the million. Said a different way, if you could rewind the clock 5 years and you could change any 3 key financial decisions that you've made, if you could rewind the clock and undo 3 financial decisions, commitments that you've made, who would have a hell of a lot more money than they do right now? Show of hands. Okay? Look around the room. So I'm in favour of coming up with great ideas that allow you to progress faster, but I'm even more in favour of not doing stupid stuff. Right? And sometimes it's just getting the fundamentals right, the meeting rhythm, the culture, so that somebody doesn't take you to a tribunal. Somebody else in this room told me over the lunch break that they had a disgruntled employee steal the database and go to set up in competition. And then it ended up settling out of court, which meant the person in this room had to pay them money to make it go away, even though they were the one that was screwed over. And I'm certain that they're not the only person in this room. Hands down. But what are the fundamental shifts that allow you not to make the mistake that's costing you the big money later? That's what this presentation is about.